Hey, this is Mitch, and I wanted to do a little one-on-one today, just solo, you and me. I wanted to talk about choosing a name and how important it is. Actually, I'm going to do like a two-part series. We're going to do choosing a name and then choosing your phone numbers. Not really talking about the prettiness of the phone numbers, but how and why and what kind of numbers you need to choose. There's a lot of choices out there these days. So let's talk about choosing a name. I think that the name of the business should be your .com name. I think like the name of my business is, cash4houses.net. Now this is probably one of the worst names on the planet, but I had this name, I don't know, over a decade ago or maybe even 15 years ago. I don't even know when the internet got going, but uh, I was so naive and so not up to speed on techno stuff that I picked a really bad name. So the first thing in your name is, I think your name should be your .com. Like the name, like I said, the name of my business is cash4houses.net, which the first mistake is it needs to be a .com, right? No matter what, get a .com, because whoever has cash4houses.com is getting a lot of calls from my advertising, because people just go in and they completely block out the net and put .com. No matter how many times they've seen my name, no matter how many times, they still do it after 20 years. They're still putting .com at the end of my Cash for Houses. So thank goodness the guy that has cashforhouses.com doesn't live in my town. He lives very far away, I think in Baltimore. So if you're out there in Baltimore listening to me, I'll drive you a lot of business, I'm sure. Of course, it'll all be from the wrong state, so it won't be any good business for you, probably. So number one, get a .com name. Number two, never have a name that's all encompassing for your buying and for your selling. You got to have two separate names, MitchBuysHouses.com and Mitch Sells OwnerFinancedHomes.com. These are two completely different thoughts. You never send your motivated seller to a site that shows what you're selling houses for in his neighborhood. Okay, never. Other than that, I mean, besides that, the mindset and the emotions of a motivated seller is completely different than the mindset and the emotions of a buyer. Completely different language. They're not even remotely the same animal. So don't make them all inclusive. Have two websites and have a buying name and a selling name. Okay, so what's in the name? The name should say exactly what you do. Imagine this. There's a billboard and you're driving down the highway and there's this billboard and it's solid black and there's only one thing on it and it's someone's URL. Now, if it's, WeBuyDumpTrucks.com, then we pretty much know what this guy does. We know how to get a hold of him. We don't even need his phone number technically because we know his phone number is going to be on the website. So make sure that your buying name says exactly what you do. Well, MikeBuysHouses.com, SanAntonioHomeBuyers.com, whatever it is. Now, you have to get creative sometimes. And I like names where you can capitalize the first letter of each word in the name because URLs are contiguous. There's no spaces in between the words. I like it so that you can capitalize the first letter of each word for separation. But if you don't think about your name in advance, you'll put some capitals together. Like if I want to put TXHousebuyer.com, which would stand for TexasHousebuyer.com, I got T capital, X capital, pop maybe, and no, for sure, and an H for homes. So that kind of messes up the theory. So it should be HomebuyerTX.com. And you see what I'm saying? So you got the H, capitalize the B, and then the capital TX at the end. And there's real separation there, and there's not a bunch of run-on capital letters. These are just my opinions, but it's served me well over the years, and I think they make a lot of sense. Also, your selling name, it can't just say Mitch Sells Houses, because everyone in the world's going to think you're a realtor. It didn't say what your niche is. If you're in owner financing, you have to say Mitch Sells Owner Financed Homes. Now that brings us to another point. That's kind of long, but shorter is always better. but it's better to be descriptive and let everyone know exactly what you do than not. So I would pick a longer name that says exactly what I do over a shorter name. And again, always .com. Then, last but not least, I see this all the time and I don't understand it. People are out there with, Mike at gmail.com, Mike buys houses at gmail.com. Why in the hell are we advertising Gmail? They don't need your help. What really needs your help is your business. Your business needs help. And you need to have an email address for your buying website name and your selling website name. It should be Mitch at mitchbuyshouses.com and Mitch at mitchownerfinancesahomes.com. Okay? So that every time I send out an email, I'm advertising one of my companies and what I do. And if you have a choice, because like the person you're emailing, they're not a motivated seller and they're not a buyer, they're just, someone down at the Bexar County Courthouse, then choose the buying name as your default name, because you don't do anything in this business unless you buy a house. So if you have a choice between using a buying email address or a selling email address, always pick the buying one, because it all starts with a house. Nothing happens without buying a house. That's the primary name we want to advertise. How many emails do you send out a year? Thousands, tens of thousands, who knows? And people are out there advertising Yahoo and Gmail and I don't know, 1,000 hosts of other emails. Why are they doing that? You need to be advertising your company. Never send out an email that doesn't have your company at yourcompany.com. Never, because you may be sending an email to, a school administrator about your kid, and then they read mitchbuyshouses.com, and all of a sudden I'm buying his grandmother's house across, on the other side of town. You got to put yourself in the road if you want to get hit by the money truck. You want to put yourself in the road a lot more times, then start using yourbusiness.com as the email URL and quit promoting Gmail and Yahoo and all these other companies. Who cares about them? They got enough money. We need to buy some houses. So start using your name at ibuyhouses.com and start letting the world know with every email what you do. And believe me, you'll buy 1 or 2 houses a year because of that email address. All right, that's about all I have on it. Just make sure it says what you do. Keep it as short as you can, but when you have a choice between short or descriptive, make sure you're descriptive and use it. When you're going to send out, and it doesn't matter if you're not talking to a seller, if you're not talking to a buyer, then use your acquisition URL. Use your house buying URL. So, if you're selling houses, then use your house selling URL. If not, then always use your house buying URL, because that's where the rubber meets the road. All right, I hope I've been a little bit of help on how to choose the correct name. When someone asks you what your name of your business is, you don't say Cash for Houses. You say, the name of my business is cashforhouses.net. Again, the most horrible name in the world, but I didn't know any better back then. And by the time I figured out I had the worst name on the planet, I had already bought 1,000 houses. So I wasn't going to go back and try to fix that. It is what it is. And there's living proof. You can still have the worst name in the world and buy thousands of houses. So, if you have a name and it's not perfect, but you've had it for a long time, maybe you just stick with it. But, certainly, I just wonder though, how many extra houses I'd have bought if I'd had a .com on the end of this name instead of a .net. And I'm sure the answer is not 0. It's some amount of houses. And most of the houses I bought usually make 15, 20, 30,000. So, it cost me big time to have the wrong name. I just didn't know what I didn't know. All right, this is Mitch Stephen with the realestateinvestorsummit.com podcast. Please check out taxfreefuture.com. If you're not investing in a tax-free or a tax-deferred retirement account, man, you have no idea what you're missing out on. This is a very powerful tool. Go to taxfreefuture.com, because you will not believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. All right, this is Mitch Stephen. I'm out of here.